Whoop whoop!
It's time for the Juggalo recap!
Do you be goat or a fish? Don't sit on the fence!
Juggalo Championship Wrestling. Chris Peterson Yeet says, is a Juggalo goat or is a Juggalo fish? Well, is it fish or a goat? Well, fenced if I know. Let's look at the evidence. So here we have to begin. Here we have a little advertisement for Goat vs. Fish. It's the Goat vs. Fish Insane Goat vs. Fish Circus. Of course, you can see the flyer there that says the Carnival of Chaos Tour featuring live pro wrestling, JCW Lunacy. Oh, go back at versus, please. Yes, Goat vs. Fish went to punk rock bowling. Yes, you can find that video on YouTube of Goat vs. Fish in the mosh pit. Goat vs. Fish wanted to let the Juggalos know. Goat vs. Fish knows how to mosh. We can get to that mosh. We can mix it up if we wish. If we wish. Thank you for that lovely commentation, for that memory of Goat vs. Fish.
It always knows the flavor of death wherever it goes.
But we'll show you why we'd love to go to the gathering of the Juggalos, because we're going to show you more about Goat vs. Fish here. And here we have Goat. Here we have Goat. Celebration for Goat. Traveling across First America, you will find these fine rusty goats, but they are behind a fence, and that is a sad versus. Someone please come and buy this goat, free this goat from behind the fence. Please, please, for the love of Goat vs. Fish. And here, even more goat in Verse America. Goat all around Verse America are being trapped by the fence, and Goat vs. Fish, we know that you just want to hear more about Juggalos, and not all of this political verses, but you will recall that the Juggalos were at one versus classified as a gang by the U.S. Federal Department of whatever defense they're going on about, and the Juggalos had to stand up and get off the fence, and stand up for their verses to be Juggalos and to not be judged so harshly. But across First America, so it's always been a political versus, and there are more goats. More fine goats indeed, but behind the fence. Let's get some liberation for goat. And here we can see some fish. We can see fish statues also across First America. This fish, sure, it's got some age lines. It's seen a bit of crack. It looks like it's hanging out by the fence. But at least we've got some fish scales. So we've got some statue goat. We've got some statue fish. This is the kind of thing you see across First America. And of course, welcome to the Family Diner on Route 66. Get your kicks on Route 66. We should do a versus about Route 66. Rutherford's Route 66, the goat and the fish and the fence sitter. We enjoyed many morning consumptions and delicious verses out there in Verse America, out on the road, on the ancient historic Route 66, whose infrastructure has scarcely been upgraded for many millions of millennium, but it's still there and they're still going on about it, so maybe you can still get some coin out of that one. Yeah, you keep doing that Route 66 thing. It's definitely that's a real slice of American Goat vs. Fish right there. So at any green Jello show, you will find this, and this is sort of a fishy goat kind of thing, because these are pool noodles, which go in a pool, and as you know, fish can be in the pool. But we also know that goats can have pool noodles on their horns to prevent farm goats from harming each other. Wild goats, they like to mash horns all the time. Those goats just want to be horny. And yet they're getting a cover. They're being sheathed.
I don't advocate horn suppression.
You don't advocate horn suppression, even as a fish. You're a fish.
Even fish suppression.
Well, of course, as a fish, you would not advocate for fish suppression, but here you are saying that you don't advocate for goat suppression either, even as a fish?
Suppression is just cruel, no matter if it's goat or fish. Fences, they can be suppressed.
The fences can be suppressed.
Yeah, disregard fences. Yeah, they can be suppressed.
Well, we don't need to suppress the fence sitters. We need to simply re-educate and guide the fence sitters so that they can choose goat or fish and become productive members of Goat vs. Fish society. It's not oppression. It's a liberation. We're liberating the fence sitters from the fence. And there it is. Have a look. So there's the Pope Mobile. driving down the verses. Do you see this? Do you see the resistance? These pool noodles have become a sort of a super fence that's atop the Pope Mobile there. The green Jello Pope Mobile, and it's just the verses are just bombarding the fence.
Doesn't that look like coral?
Well, Carl,
like the Great Barrier Reef.
Oh,
what you find under the ocean.
Ah, it looks like a sort of a fish reef. It does kind of look like a fish reef. And of course, we want to. There's a difference, of course, goat and fish between, if we might say, if there is such a difference between fence sitters, between the sort of natural occurring fences and the unnatural fences made by horrible fenceology. But the Great Barrier Reef could be said to be a fence of sorts because it is a barrier. But really, it is a beautiful place where the fish can meet up with other fish and hang out. Those fish have really turned that barrier fence into a place that's really serviceable to the fish. And now it's totally being bleached and destroyed, and that makes GoatVsFish sad. Though we hear they're trying to use new fenceology to replace the barrier reef with like a new fence that's made by the goats. Like the goat want to build the fence under the Sea of the Fish in order to build a new reef for the fish. So then the false reef becomes an actual reef, but the fence already destroyed the reef. How do they expect the fence to make the reef new again? Oh, my versus GoatVsFish. We'll have to have some kind of scientist on to explain this to GoatVsFish.
That's what the people over at the fence place were plotting, how to get the goat involved in rebuilding the reef.
At that previous fence place.
Yeah, the fence place.
So you think that they were plotting to rebuild the reef for the fish?
Yes.
Oh, well, that's not such a terrible verse.
It's a hostile takeover.
We see. It is an imperialist program.
Yes.
The goats are going to go in and say, nice reef you have there. It would be a shame if anything happened to it. Why don't you just let us build the reef for you, and then once the reef has been built by the goat, then the goat can claim the territory of the fish.
You see, they destroyed the Great Barrier Reef so they can have the goats rebuild it using fence technology.
So we see. Oh, my verses. Sunny with the insight. Meanwhile, the fish are causing global warming so that the sea level rises so that they can reclaim the land of goat. Now, when we are stopping on the road onto Juggalo town, we're getting there, goat and fish, we're getting there. We find all sorts of little fence wisdom that we want to turn into GoatVsFish, like this year. What if you got a candle that says, "Light me when you need some Zen GoatVsFish"? Would you buy that? Would you buy this handsome product?
Only if it is GoatVsFish approved.
Only if it's GoatVsFish approved. Well, GoatVsFish would approve this "Light me when you need some Zen GoatVsFish."
How much are you getting paid to approve it?
What is this?
How much are you getting paid to approve it?
To approve this versus? Oh, GoatVsFish. Well, as long as it says GoatVsFish, freely GoatVsFish. Just as a matter of verses, GoatVsFish, they didn't even have to pay GoatVsFish to leave this sticker right there in their store.
They didn't pay you $5.55?
To leave the sticker in the store? No, the benevolence of GoatVsFish. Of course, GoatVsFish would never be so rude as to peel off the sticker and just start placing it on products where they didn't welcome GoatVsFish. But GoatVsFish will delicately place a sticker that says GoatVsFish.
Ooh, sneaky product placement.
Just around the store, so someone wandering about might look and see, oh, there's a sticker that says GoatVsFish here. It's not even attached to anything. You can just pick it right up. Silence! So it started a bit like this, and GoatVsFish thought, well,
that's nice that he was trying to get him off the fence.
It's trying to help, you think?
Yeah.
Oh, we thought they were just fencing around up there, just making a mockery of the verses. Like, oh, we'll just play on the fence for fun.
Yeah, and he showed him what happens if you play on the fence.
Oh, if you play on the fence, we're going to drag you off the fence.
Yeah, he was actually helping him out.
We see, yes. Get off that fence. And yet they cling to the fence. Like, no, don't take me off the fence. I want to be on the fence. So that one was the neon ninja who GoatVsFish has now become friendly with. The neon ninja has become friendly with GoatVsFish, and the neon ninja said, "Hey, GoatVsFish, why don't you get in the ring? Why don't you do some verses? Maybe we will."
Why didn't you get in the ring?
Well, they didn't invite GoatVsFish. GoatVsFish wanted an invitation. But maybe that's what GoatVsFish needs to do. Maybe GoatVsFish. Oh, but they had a fence around. They had a fence around the verses. If you look here, you can see not only is there a fence around the ring, but then there's also a fence around the fence. There's a fence around the fence. You see this fence?
When was the last time a fence stopped GoatVsFish?
Last time a fence stopped GoatVsFish. Look, the fence can't stop GoatVsFish. But GoatVsFish has a versus. GoatVsFish does not like to go where GoatVsFish is not welcome. We hope they welcome GoatVsFish. Because if GoatVsFish starts becoming unwelcome, then how can we spread the verses of GoatVsFish if GoatVsFish is not welcome?
But didn't that guy invite you on the other side of the fence?
Well, that was late. That was at a later versus. So why don't you just save that criticism of GoatVsFish for slightly later, so we can come up with some better explanation for later, because the invitation hadn't happened yet. So as you can see, there's fences upon fences, and you can see back there it's JCW Juggalo Clown Wrestling, JCW Lunacy. JCW Lunacy. That's the name of the verses now. GoatVsFish wanted to get a goat's eye view, not a bird's eye view, because a bird is a fence creature, but a goat who climbs high. So here we're getting the goat's eye view.
Next week, I face James Tiberius Storm for the JCW Heavyweight Championship.
Talha is goat. Oh, my verses! Fence-Hitter got very excited about that one. Fence-Hitter got very excited about that one.
Of course he's excited. There's 4 fences.
There's 4 fences?
Yeah.
So here, GoatVsFish. Yeah, so we got to know some of these wrestlers. So here you can see this one that you see before you just above the fish. A very animalistic creature was sort of running around the verses like very, very animalistic, but sort of not quite. It seemed very confused though, because it seemed to be a follower of the false verses of bird versus bear, because it was bearing around, and we think that instead of coming into the verses wearing a bear skin, they could come in wearing a goat skin and embody the goat, and then maybe they would win more often.
Or even fish skin.
Or they could be fish. You see, they failed to seal the deal. They were quite popular. And they moved about, and it was like, crazy, ferocious. But at the end of the verses, always fell. So we think they need to commit to goat or fish. This whole bear thing is not working out. You've got to give it up. Give up the bear thing and choose goat or fish, please. Continuing now. Back to the goat's chant. Goat. So after GoatVsFish performed with green Jellÿ, GoatVsFish, all of these ones here, they all started chanting, GoatVsFish, 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 and the whole crowd, there were hundreds, and at least some of them were chanting GoatVsFish. So we got a great shout out. GoatVsFish got a great shout out, and it's all because before the show, Goat vs. Fish went out and had conversations and genuine interactions with all of these goat and fish. And it was with this group that Goat vs. Fish achieved something very, very special, which was, and here's a fish. Here's a fish smoking a vape. And here we have Violent J and Shaggy ICP. We thought that maybe Shaggy was the goat because Shaggy was furry and furry like a goat fur, but this Juggalo thought that it was Violent J who was the goat and that it was Shaggy who was the fish, but we don't know. We tried to ask Violent J if Violent J was goat or fish, but Violent J was always surrounded by other goat and fish, sort of for their protection, and clearly did not want to be bothered by Goat vs. Fish. But if Goat vs. Fish keeps coming to Juggalo Championship Wrestling at a future versus, we may be able to find out truly if Violent J is goat or if Violent J is fish. But in order to get up to that supreme versus, Goat vs. Fish first infiltrates the Juggalos, first asks the Juggalo Championship wrestlers that they are goat or fish. We are in the trust of the Goat and Fish. And before you know it, all the Juggalos have chosen Goat or Fish, and the Juggalos are part of Goat vs. Fish celebration. Celebration for the infiltration of Goat vs. Fish.